Mr. Keys, thank you for being here today with me. I just wanted to introduce you to my audience and let them get to know you some. So let's start from the beginning.
You got it.
Tell me about growing up and your mom and dad.
Well, it's a crazy story. My mom and dad have been married 73 years in this March. Uh,
And how old are your mom and dad? You said your dad's
my
90,
my
right?
dad's 90 and my mom will be 89 in
Wow.
March. It's crazy because they started dating young, and dad dropped out of high school to get married. Mom was 15, and the Catholic priest would not let them get married in the church until she was 16. And so 1 week after her 16th birthday, they got married. And before you know it, they had 5 kids. I think by the time they were 23 years old, they had 5 kids.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so that made it for a little bit of a difficult life. My dad came from a sharecropper, traveling, picking fruit type family all across the nation,
Yeah.
from Seattle, Washington area all the way down into Louisiana picking cotton. So that was his life. And he was working in a sawmill when he and mom got married. And
Yeah.
my mom, her family on her mom's side immigrated to the United States in the 1800s and ended up in Oklahoma, in southeast Oklahoma, around Wilburton. Was a strong Italian community there, and they worked the mines. They were all a bunch of miners. And my great grandfather died in the Red Oak mine explosion in December 1930. And so as the Depression and the war began, they ended up, many of them ended up in the Navy, and that put them in California. And that's how my mom and dad met, via post-World War II. They all were there.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'd imagine you grew up pretty poor with young parents, and
It was a difficult financial situation. I mean, I remember when we moved to Arizona, we first moved in with my grandparents, who were caretakers of a huge mining lease ranch out between Tucson and Florence. It was 27 miles from our gate to town. And so when we got on the bus to go to school, it was dark, and when we came home, it was dark. And we lived in a compound sense, okay? It was like what you call containers today. There were 3 containers. One was a kitchen, and one was my grandparents, another was a sleeping place, and then there was a concrete bathroom that looked like something like it'd be a boys and girls, because it was. One side was a boys and one side was a girl, and we had a big picnic table, and most of the time we ate dinner outside because it's so blasted hot inside. And we lived on a generator, and so it was difficult. And we ended up moving into town, to a little town called Coolidge, and we lived on what they call the Boulevard, the main drag in town. And it was a little one bedroom, adobe style house, flat roof, and when it rained, catching water with pots, you name it. And my sisters for a while were able to sleep in the bedroom. They moved this old style type camping trailer right next to the back of the house, and my brother and I would go through the window at night, and the septic tank collapsed, and the city found out we were staying in that, and they shut that down.
Wow. So it was a 1-bedroom house.
1 bedroom, 5 kids.
So where were your parents?
On the couch. They had a little hide of bed, and they slept on the couch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Quite a different way of growing up.
It was, but it opened some doors in our life, and we lived in a community where it was community at the time. I think my parents were inspired to put us there because of what happened in our lives. It was a tough place. There was a lot of fist fighting, a lot of physical, multi races. It was pretty well divided between African Americans and Native Americans and Latinos. And it was at the time of all the desegregation in the United States. If you go back and you look at history and you look at Martin Luther King's death, it was during that time. that we lived there. We moved
So a lot
into
of race hostility.
we moved into Coolidge into town in January of 1968, and so a lot of difficulty in that aspect. But the community, the school was really a tight knit. If you did something wrong, Mama was going to know about it before you got home.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
it was faster than the internet. So, yeah, it was a mama net back then. So.
We need more of that now.
Oh, I'll tell you. Mama had a rolling pin, and you didn't want her to whoop that thing out. So, yeah.
Well, tell me, you've been married to your wife, Sandy, for how long?
This May will be 47 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And y'all were how old when you got married? So
Well,
that would be
we were 20, just about 4 months before our 21st birthday.
okay. And you have how many children?
We have 3.
Mm-hmm.
She had been married before, and she had a little boy, and we just, I mean, I remember from the beginning it was Bob's my buddy, and you bet. In the day that we got married, and Sandy changed her last name at the tag office back then. He changed his last name, and I hadn't adopted. I didn't get to adopt him until he was 15.
Wow. But he changed his last name to your last
He
name.
changed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So.
So you're his daddy. He raised
Oh
you.
yeah. I mean, there's no difference.
Yeah.
My relationship with he and his children, and particularly, I mean, there's somehow my blood flows in their veins, or vice versa. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I love that. Well, okay, so tell me then, because y'all went from being, doing all these, I think you mentioned you worked at a pizza shop and some other jobs. How did you get into the business you do?
Well, originally when I dropped out of college, I went to work. I came to Oklahoma for a period, and it was nothing here.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up back out in Arizona, and I worked at a company that was called MPM, Mining Exploration. It was out in the middle of nowhere, southeast Arizona, up in a place called the Swiss Elm Alps, just east of Elfrida. Literally, it was like 30 miles of dirt road to blacktop. And so it was a campsite location, very primitive, cooked on an open flame, learned how to use Dutch ovens and stuff. It didn't pay a lot of money, but it was 7 days a week, and so it was the best job I could get. And that's where I began, the interest in geology and in drilling and the mechanics. I mean, the things they allowed me to do that allowed me to grow was off the chart. And so when I knew I needed to get back to school, and I just felt like that, and so I decided to leave and go prep myself. And so when I walked into the pizza joint, I had no idea I was going to end up getting married out of the deal. I just thought I was going to have my path to go back to college, which never happened.
So you walk in and Sandy's there, and you're just taken aback.
Have you not seen her dimples and her smile?
Oh, I see it. I totally
I'm going
understand.
to tell you that girl still today, after all these years, she gives me that look. I'm going, quit doing that. She just has that ability.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a powerful woman.
That's an understatement. That's 5'2" of dynamite right there. Yeah.
So she was in the pizza place. So then your plans changed when you met her.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't take long, and I mean, literally, I said, I guess if we're really going to do this, I need to just go to work.
Mm-hmm.
And dads don't go to school; they go to work. And I told her, I said, we'll make it work. I'll just work double time at whatever we do, and I'll compensate for that. And that's exactly what I did. I mean, I ended up, her dad was a water well contractor. I ended up working there, and after a few years, they had this Central Arizona project come through where they brought this canal off the Colorado River, and was supposed to solve the water problems, and they quit giving water well permits.
Okay.
And so I found myself with an opportunity to come to Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
And I moved to Seminole, worked for an oil and gas company, Johnson Gibson. Fred Gibson, a great man. He's still alive today. He was legal counsel for the University of Oklahoma, just a good man.
Yeah.
And I worked for him, and short time they seen some value because I was the only guy that was willing to work double shifts. So I'd work
Yeah.
16 hours a
Yeah.
day, at least 3-4 days a week to
Wow.
keep the rig going. And when you're working like that and you're clean and sober, you're not smoking dope, you're not drinking, your mind absorbs. And
Yeah, the best education.
oh, you
Yeah.
bet, you bet, you bet. I had the ability to fix things that was at a higher level than most people. And so couple that with the ongoing experience, doors just began to open for me in that industry. And I actually ended up starting a drilling company when I was 25 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And I thought I had the tiger by the tail. I thought, man, I'm never going to have to work on my car again. Somebody's going to be doing that for me. And then the bus came, and I was praying for a job to work on somebody's car for a while.
Yeah, it changes quickly.
You bet.
Yeah.
But one of the things, I was just hard-headed and determined then, like I am now. And legal and accounting said your best deal is to file bankruptcy, and I refused to do it. And I worked and I paid my way through it. And so when the opportunity came in '92 to start Associated Environmental, I already had a learning education that you're not going to get through school. I already went through some things that gave me an edge. And so from the beginning, we created a company that still today, you can call my office down in Norman and you can say, hey, you drilled a well for us in, April of 1992. I don't remember what day, but just, within 30 minutes, they'll give you the complete daily log of that job. And so we've been detailed and we've been timely, so much so that my wife and I decided that what are the things that we wished a company would give us or provide for us, not give, but provide for us as employees. And so one of them was health insurance, because we went through so many struggles having babies and no insurance, and it was not fun. And so from the beginning, we have provided full coverage health insurance for all our employees. They pay $10 per person on the plan. And so if you know anything about today's insurance, some of that's $2,000 a month, and family of four is paying $40. But that's the key to building a strong economy, is finding ways to lift your staff, build that in them. And we did that, and we still do it today. And when we go buy out a company, it's funny how the understanding of the value base of what those benefits are. At the end of the day, people look at how much more money do I get to take home?
Yeah.
And that's this whole part of government, the whole thing of running is, at the end of the day, how do we make life better for those who are working with you, not for you?
Right.
You can ask my staff. I tell them all the time, you don't work for me, you work with me.
You really are a perfect example of the American dream. I mean, you worked
I don't know
hard.
how perfect I am.
I think so. I mean, you worked hard, you made it from the ground up. And when did you have your success? When did your business really take off?
I never looked back at the success of it because of the weight of the failure of the oil and gas industry. I've always been so fearful of a repeat of that. I never looked back. I just kept stacking and moving forward. And so, the success, honestly, as I look back, it really began when I started hiring the right people. I wouldn't just hire somebody. I'd hire the right people. I've got a guy that works for me right now. He's been with me, 33 years.
Wow.
And I remember when I made him the drilling superintendent. He had the least amount of drilling experience of anybody on the team, but he had the integrity and the commitment and the capacity to do it. And so, when when did I realize the success of it? I don't think I still do today.
Mhm.
I I'm grateful for everything, and I look at it, but I also realize it can all go away.
Mhm.
You start being stupid and
Absolutely.
wasteful, yeah, it goes away.
Mhm.
And you know, building for the future.
Mhm.
In the end, I don't think I'll be able to say it was successful till it's over. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, just as an observer, I've gotten to know you over the past year or so, and I know how much you love your community and how much you give back to your community. And I really admire that about you. I got to go to one of your events that you put on
We
just
have
for
fun.
fun,
We have
free of
fun.
charge for everybody in the community to come. And my children absolutely loved it. But have you always felt such a strong sense of community where you are?
I, I, I've always felt that contributing to community all of my life. I
Mhm.
mean, I go back to being raised in that little bitty town. We would have, it was where I lived was primarily Latino people, okay,
Mhm.
in that part of it. So being raised Catholic, you know, we would have bazaars. We'd have, I remember our annual fiesta, you know, the grease pig contest, the bingo. You know, it was family and bringing family together was
Mhm.
important.
Mhm.
But there was the other element. There could be violence.
Mhm.
You know, and I remember when I was 15, just before I turned 16, uh, we uh, we were my parents were part of a wedding, and it was the first time I wore a tuxedo, and I didn't like it either. And I remember, I after all the events was over, the dance started. I talked to my mama. I said, "Mama, man, can I go home and take this off?" And so I go home and I come back. And when I walked into the building, the biggest fight riot you
Oh
ever
my.
seen. I mean, a violent outburst. You know, my family was being attacked. There was people being attacked. I walked in, I was attacked, and
Mm.
I had no idea even what was going on. And
Wow.
I mean, I can tell you, I was fighting to live,
Mm.
not fighting to win. And I know that. I've been through that situation. And so as I grew and became financially successful and changed my life and tried to get right with the Lord and put alcohol and those things behind me, I had a different vision of saying, we got to do things for families. We got to create safe environments for children. And that's why I do that. That's
Mhm.
that's what it's kind of selfish. I want my grandkids. I want my kids to have some place where
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
you're a real tough cowboy.
I,
Back in the
yeah.
back in the day, but you said you started going to church and that kind of changed your
That
life.
that was a paradigm shift for me.
Mhm.
Is I'd always had a belief in Jesus Christ, and I always tried to follow Him with my limited understanding. There's never been a time I can remember not. But as I took on some other covenants and promises to Him, I took it internally.
Mhm.
And so I've always looked at an evaluation, even an attack, even when in my last campaign run, people would make an attack on me. I'd look and I'd evaluate myself and go, how in the world would they even think that? You
Mhm.
know, how did that come out? It is because, you know, is there a flaw in me? There's flaws in everybody.
Sure.
I recognize that, but you know, when you look internal instead of trying to look external, when you're looking external, you're always judging somebody and you don't have the information,
Mhm.
and that's the worst thing to do. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you can't ever judge the integrity of a man going into a deal. You can't.
Mhm.
It's when he comes out.
Yeah.
Did he hold his hand up? Did he do what he said he was going to do? Did he exceed those things?
Mhm.
And that's what I live by. That's
Mhm.
exactly what I live by.
Mhm.
Huh.
Well, so you've done well in the business world. You love your community, and now you're wanting to serve in the Senate and give back to your community. So tell me your plans on how you want to serve your community by being a senator.
Well, I tell you, there's a couple of layers in that. One is that I need to represent the people who elect me. I don't need those people to say, "Hey, this is my favorite guy. I like him because he's got a hat." You know, I like how he dresses. I like his house.
The hat is cool, though. I mean,
okay, I love my hat. I actually, I need to get you a picture of my high school yearbook, because in my high school yearbook, somebody caught me out in the hallway walking out of the school with my cowboy hat on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I got a big turkey feather hanging off the side of that thing. But I've always that's been my life.
Yeah.
Is that right there? But it's a journey. Your life is a journey, and you get to choose how you're going to act and react at the things that come at you. You don't get to choose what comes at you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you do because of your bad action, okay? But most time, you don't get to choose what's going to happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
But you do get to choose how you're going to act and react about it. And that's one of the things that I watch in this whole campaign deal is, and I wonder sometimes, I ask, what really is the motivation for different people to serve in these capacities?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can tell you, you can take it to the bank. I'm going to make a lot of sacrifices
mm-hmm.
just to serve,
mm-hmm.
and I feel called or compelled to serve, to be able to do the opposite of what most politicians do.
Mm-hmm.
They stand and they say, "I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to economic development. I'm going to do all of this," and they say they don't believe in big government. But yet, how many bills are passed over there each session that just add more confusion to the law process? Why aren't we shrinking those bills? Mm-hmm. This week alone, there was and the senator who wrote the bill is a good guy. Mm-hmm. I want to go down and say that. Nobody better misquote me on this. But the fact is, they weren't looking big enough. Okay, Senate Bill 1918. There's a statement in there, and it's about water rights, and it deals with the Water Resources Board about making a permit application to receive your water rights, and it says you've got to have a valid Oklahoma driver's license or a U.S. Passport. Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, guess what? There's plenty of people that are not U.S. citizens that are Chinese nationals or whatever that have a valid driver's license. Oh, and so where Article 22 plainly states that you cannot own land in Oklahoma if you are not a U.S. citizen. Mm-hmm. Okay? Can't do it. And so when you take and compound that bill with this, all of a sudden you open a door in the legal world to be able to take and so they can't buy land, but nobody's enforcing that. Mm-hmm. That's a problem. Why do we have bills that we're not enforcing? Mm-hmm. We got to fix that, or get rid of it, or laws. Right. We got to get rid of it or fix it. Mm-hmm. And so why? So all of a sudden now, they can't, if you enforce the Article 22, mm-hmm. okay, they can't buy land, but all they got to do is have a driver's license, and they can go buy the water rights. Mm-hmm. I mean, people are. They use target words almost like slogans to get votes without realizing what they're saying when they're saying, "I'm going to protect our property rights." Well, how are you going to do that? Mm-hmm. My question is, ask any one of them. Yeah. When you say, "I'm going to do," how are you going to do it?
And we've talked about this. I mean, we've talked about the different kinds of people. Are you serving? Or are you there to be served? And you can talk the talk, but where's the follow through with a lot of this? So
You bet.
Mm-hmm. Say you're elected senator. I know you had mentioned that you wanted to bring kind of some leaders from the community to give you insight into what's going on.
You bet.
Have people on the ground to really report back.
You bet. Subject matter experts in my district are invaluable. How much do I know about the FOP? Mm-hmm. I know police officers carry guns, they drive cars, and they serve and protect. But how in depth do I really understand? Mm-hmm. And so, one, I could reach out to the FOP in a big group, but then they're trying to tell me what the city of Moore needs.
Mm-hmm.
I need to go to the city of Moore, and I need to have police officers, subject matter experts
Yeah.
on my committee, and they may or may not agree with the overarching group, but I need to rely on those people who voted me to help me look at every bill that comes in. So let's talk about education. There's good people over at that high school. There's a great superintendent. Why do I need to go listen to a lobbyist versus listening to people in my district
Yeah.
that are dealing with the nuts and bolts of that district? When you look at what's happening in Moore, is not going to be the same as Elk City. And so I have to look at what the bill is, because quite frankly, we have too many bills with these unintended consequences where we're trying to isolate. You create a bill that fixes some of the craziness in Tulsa, could very well damage Moore. And
Right,
Moore has
right.
a good system going.
Right,
And
right.
so I need to create subject matter experts through the 17 different committees that are in, and I think they've grown some this year, but the number of committees, and if we don't have enough people in our district, then our district would, let's get some other people that we can rely on in our district.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. I mean, there's a book I read about Delta Force and the men, the mission, and me, or something along those lines. But it's about people on the ground always know more what's going on than people up, around. So up in
I'm going to
high
tell you
places.
something. I've built a series of businesses that are very successful, and a lot of times team members don't want to enter in, especially when you buy a new company out that they've done it a certain way since the cows came home. Okay, but when you take a group of people and you say before a project's going to go out, and you set them at a table and you pick every one of them's brain and they have an equal input to it, and they'll argue and say, man, we got all these hours into it and we don't have the job. Well, okay, but just listen to me. If we do it this way, in the end, when we land that job, we won't have a bunch of surprises that cost us a whole bunch of money that we missed on the bid.
Yeah.
Okay. Or when we send it out to bid. I mean, we've had some huge projects, $1 million projects, that we pulled back and we set and we went around and around, took a few weeks and just kept tweaking it because of the committee. The power of the committee, the power of 4 or 5, 10 people, are they going to get along well? Probably not. Is that a bad thing? No.
Yeah.
As long as they manage to be civil with each other, because you want the differences where a lot of companies, a lot of people say, well, that person just never going to think the way I think. Well, and they get rid of them, and that's a mistake. That's a mistake. I don't want a bunch of yes, Mr. Keys.
Right.
That doesn't solve anything.
Yeah. You need a little bit of challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, say you're elected to the Senate. What are some things you want to see happen in your community, just off the top of your head?
Well, okay. I do like the idea of property taxes, doing away with property taxes for senior citizens. I think we have to go down that road real quick. The other is I think that we've got to look at public education and how we're funding it. I think as a matter of fact, I know for a fact, I've talked to some of the superintendents already in the other districts. There's a funding mechanism available to save hundreds of millions of dollars just in general liability insurance, and take that and quit shipping that money off to Wall Street or wherever and put it in the classroom. You realize every time you go fill up at a gas station, there's a penny a gallon fee. It's not a tax. The tank owners of Oklahoma in the 1980s all agreed to say, hey, let's self-insure this. And so this penny a gallon raises $26 to $27 million a year, and it's a self-insurance. Now, if you turned this to private insurance, it would cost you 3 to 5 cents a gallon, and they won't clean up. Oklahoma has the premier underground storage tank cleanup program, self-funded, in the United States. We have a similar program with at the Water Resources Board. It's self-insurance type program, and when you look at what we pay, and crazy thing, we tell the superintendents who are supposed to be worrying about educating our kids, right? Okay, we tell them, we want you to buy buses, we want you to take this out of your budget, and then we want you to go get those buses insured, and then we want you to insure all the buildings and take care of that. And so each one of these have to go negotiate a contract. And I mean, that is bizarre to me. That should be, the buses should be a statewide deal. When the superintendent has enough money in his budget, it's a fixed deal, and they just calls up and say, I need 2 buses. You know, I need them this big. And it shouldn't have to be, we shouldn't be funneling that way. That's a terrible waste of time and money. And if you just look at how many billions we spend a year in Oklahoma in the insurance side of it, and you can cut that by 2/3, just think what would happen in the classroom. I won't be one of those senators that's going to complain about those people that I am part of hiring. This is something that happens all the time. We don't like what's going on at the local university, and the senators jumping up and making noise about it. Well, who is it who hires the Board of Regents? Who is it has to vote on that? Who is it who hires the president of the university? Who has to vote on that?
You're going to have some accountability.
If those things that happen in that education sector happened in my business, some people would have to lose their job. And so we have elected officials that are afraid to do their job because they're afraid to offend somebody and lose a vote and have some ugly post on social media. Well, take it on the chin. You know, I do. And I don't go get ugly with them. I just figure, you know, there's some stupid people out there, and there's nothing you're going to do to change it.
You got to stand for something, or you fall for everything.
You bet. You bet.
Well, I think the world of you. Of course, I will be supporting you, but I just want to thank you for talking to me and my audience, and I want to do what I can to help you in this race. So,
well, let's just go win this thing, and let's make a difference. We're not going to change the whole world. I get that. I know that all day long, but let's make a difference.
Sounds good.
You got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.